So we're getting the coffee down. Today is Thursday, 23rd of April. We're now 3.5 weeks out from the half marathon. So I'm going to take you through my next couple of days of training, including my race pace run on Saturday, which is always the most important one. So we've been up since 5:30. I've done first this morning a block of check-ins in my new office, which is in the basement. I might show you later, but I quite like it because it's quiet, you're not disturbed, not distracted, no daylight. The only problem is it's quite cold down there. We're almost in May and it's 5 degrees in the morning. But yeah, what to do? I guess that's the downside of global warming, you know. Freezing tomorrow, and actually today the low was 3 degrees. That's almost peak winter. It's like January. But anyway, so it's 9:30 now. I'm going to be hitting my run. So I had my oats bowl now, which I typically don't eat before running, but given that it's breakfast time, I had my oats bowl now first. And the run today is 16k. Typically I don't like running 16k at the same pace. I think it's boring as fuck. So I usually break these up into kind of like different segments and just keep some form of variety in the run. So we're going to do 4k as a warm-up, easy at a 5 to 5:10 pace. Then I'm going to be running 6k at 4:50, which should still keep my heart rate in zone 2, maybe lower zone 3. Then I'm going to be doing another 2k easy at 5 to 5:10. Then I'm going to be doing 3k at 4:45 and then 3k at 4:40. So ideally, this run keeps my heart rate throughout the entire run below 160. So the final 6k, the 4:45 and the 4:40 shouldn't go higher than, I'd say, mid to high 150s, ideally. Let's see what the body does. My resting heart rate has been higher over the last couple of days in my sleep. But I think it's potentially the climate as well. So the half marathon in May is going to be my first race of this season. So far I only have 2 races booked in for this year. I might get something else booked in for the end of the year. But I think the setup is quite perfect. Doing a half marathon in spring and then a full one in the fall. It's quite nice because essentially I'm already prepping for the full one in October by doing this half marathon now. There is quite literally no better. This dog is honestly the best dog on this planet. I love her so much. Friedi! But this dog is the best breed to have if you're someone who's active and you like, you know, chasing the dog around or playing with the dog. I don't think that this breed fits anyone who lives a low energy lifestyle. They need a lot of moving, they need a lot of walking, they need a lot of running. So we've boxed off that run. Average heart rate was 148, so I stayed in the 150s. Even though for the first 5 to 7k my heart rate was definitely higher than it was supposed to be, but that's fine. It's usually the time I need to warm up and settle into the run. So we're back in the office now. Had food and then gonna get straight back into work. So we now have the big white screen down here. I absolutely love the screen. It makes everything super efficient because you can put things side by side and just have multiple things open. And then my laptop, of course, the light, very important. And then I have my whiteboard as well in the background. So here is Frida, but she's deep asleep. She's had a busy day for sure. So we have the whiteboard here. There is a US flag, don't ask me why. And then I have my light here as well. So all the stuff here is old furniture from my grandma. This is actually my old couch from my apartment in the 2nd floor. And then this table is as well from my grandparents. And then all this here is because this room used to be my sister's party basement. But now it's my office, so And my apartment in the second floor of the house is occupied because we rented that out to one of my sister's friends, because obviously I was in Dubai for the past 2 years. We've done check-ins this morning. We had a new client join. She just had her first week. Putting her through the paces, throwing her straight into full-blown training. Lifting heavy. Lifting during the 3 full body sessions so we get enough exposure to the lifting. And then we use the first week to get her nutrition baseline numbers in place. This depends a bit on the client, whether I do this or not. If someone's obviously already tracking and they know what their intake is and they're more experienced with like food and they already have very good eating habits in place and it's more so about optimizing, then I wouldn't need to do that. We could just go straight into setting targets and just going full blown straight into a fat loss phase, getting the body fat off as quickly as possible, and then obviously moving on to performance or whatever goals they have, like build muscle or prepping for a race. But with this client, she's fairly new to training. She used to lift in the gym for some time. She also had a personal trainer for a brief period before, but she's fairly new to like training, food tracking, and the general kind of like athletic lifestyle, as I like to call it. So we did an assessment week first, just to establish where her current numbers are, and then just seeing where we can, or where we have to make the first couple of changes. So what we've done now in the second week in her check-in today is just set her nutrition targets going forward, because we now know where her current intake is, how her body weight developed as well over this period, and so now we can set the targets properly. I think otherwise we're just guessing essentially. And I think also like very often people use targets from certain places that just don't really make much sense. Like for example, don't know, like tracking apps, they're very off. I would even say calorie calculators online can be very off as well. Like for example, if I use an online calorie calculator, it will likely, it's actually interesting to see where they base my calories on. Let's see, age, 33 still, gonna be 34 in a month or 3 weeks. Weight, let's do 74, height 175. So my activity is either heavy exercise or athlete. Athlete here says 2 times per day. That's not me yet. So heavy exercise, let's do that. So let's see what they say. So they put my maintenance calories in 2,600. I think that is too low for me. Like I'm consuming probably around 3,000 on average. Moving from purely aesthetic outcome training to more of performance-based approach to training. You want to build muscle or you carry muscle, and you're running, you're lifting, there you need to have a very different like approach to how your nutrition targets are being set. I even built that was sick. I love doing that. Last year in my marathon prep, I built a full-blown Excel from scratch, of course, because what else would I be doing? Always building the Excels from scratch. So I had a full-blown sheet, and I even gave this out on Insta at some point, where I split up every single day and every single training session with my calorie needs, and I essentially built my own calorie calculation, so I can actually show this here. This is actually for my half prep right now, what I'm using. So I have Monday my lifting day, Tuesday intervals, Wednesday lifting, Thursday tempo, lifting, race, pace, run, easy run. And then essentially I've built a full table here with all of my inputs in terms of digestion, my expenditure outside of training, all of the type of stuff, then my expenditure for my running and my training sessions, and then it calculates here what my calorie needs are. So we're on to the meal of the day. So we have a bowl of corn, gnocchi and pesto, and then because that isn't enough, I also need to eat an oats bowl after this.
Hello, Friedi.
So the run tomorrow will be, I'm actually going to do a negative split run tomorrow for the first time in this prep with race pace. I personally use them sparingly because they're obviously quite intense and taxing. I guess for a half distance they're fine, but when you do them in a marathon prep with like longer distances, they're definitely monster sessions and monster runs. So tomorrow's going to be a 5k easy warm-up, which I'm going to be running at a 5 to 5:20. I might actually change that a bit so that I start progressively increasing the pace from a 5:20 to a 4:45 before going into a 10k block at 4:25 to 4:29. The closer I can hold 4:25, the better. But that's the pace and range there. And then the final 3k at a 4:10 to 4:20 again. If I can hold 4:10, that would be insane. That would be really, really, really insane. And then that's going to be my semi-final race pace run. And the next week, in my peak week, I'm going to be running a bit of a different structure with my race pace run. But the total volume at race pace is going to be 15k in total. That's kind of like what you want to be hitting for a half distance of 21. I think this is something that surprises people sometimes, like regardless of whether, maybe in a half it can be a bit different, but in a marathon prep, firstly you're never going to run a full marathon distance in training, and you're also not going to be doing the whatever pace and target you're chasing or time goal, you're not going to be running the full-blown distance or even close to that at your race pace. And the reason for this is very simple. Like, these runs have a high recovery cost, like they're taxing, they're intense. You will likely need time after to recover from them to then get back to full baseline performance. So doing that before a race is like genuinely stupid, because you're essentially doing a full-blown race effort that's going to fuck up your recovery and then potentially your performance going into the race. So you kind of want to be hitting a percentage of the full distance you're going to be running. So for example, for me, in this half prep, my longest run next week is going to be 20k, which is quite close to a full half distance. I'm doing that because I know I can handle it. I like running 20k isn't going to impact my recovery much, if at all. But let's say if someone was newer to running, or maybe they're running the first half marathon and they've never ran the full 21k distance, I wouldn't program for them a full 21k in training. I would probably go up to 18k. And then in a marathon, it's even less than the 40k. So I've had marathon preps where my longest run was 32k. I had marathon preps where my longest run was 34k. And then I also had my last prep last year was, I think my longest run was 35k. But that was the max. I've never done more than that in training, because there is really no benefit to it other than just getting a huge volume of training in that's not going to give you much additional adaptation that's going to benefit your performance in any way, shape or form. So that's the plan. I would probably say the run tomorrow and the run next week are going to be the two main indicators for me for my time goal in 3 weeks. So obviously, if I can hit them, then great. If I can't, then yeah, that's what it is. I mean, I can't really change much if that's what it is. And then, so the prep today for this run tomorrow is very simple. I had a high carb day yesterday already because I did my 16k tempo run. Then I had an upper body session this morning, which I hit, I'd say quite hard, not full out max effort, because I need to now be a bit more conscious of how hard I hit my lifting sessions as well. So I'm definitely going to pull back the intensity in my lower body sessions going into the biggest training week next week, and then obviously the taper. So it's Saturday morning. We're about to hit the run now. Temperatures are, I'd say, could be warmer. I haven't ran in a tank top or like a shirt or a t-shirt since coming back from Asia. But that's fine. I mean, it's only May almost. Anyway, so I'm feeling ready to hit this run. Let's see if I can film during the run. Probably not, but because I don't want to fuck up or have my heart rate spike. But let's see, maybe it's possible. Also, my hands are freezing, so it's probably going to be tough to take the phone out in any case. Crossing the field, we finished the run. That was fucking brutal. I actually finished like 40 minutes ago. I had to jog back now 3 kilometers because I was finishing in an absolute state. But all the targets hit, or all the paces hit. But that was hard, especially the last couple of Ks. So I ran 10k race pace. I think I averaged 4:27, which is slightly slower than last week when I ran also 10k at race pace, but without any negative split after. And then I managed to run the final 3k at 4:17, 4:16 and 4:15. The hardest part is the inclines at the end. But in this prep I've done all of my runs outside, so whatever the race course is going to be in 3 weeks, I'll be ready. I will be ready for cold running, I will be ready for hot running, I will be ready for inclines, I will be ready for hills, I will be ready for downhill. I mean, that would be great. And I'll be ready for anything really. So we're checking back in here. Feeling absolutely fried now. It's Tuesday, lunchtime. Had to move my training around today because I'm fucked. I feel fucked again. No, it's actually not that bad. I feel fine, but I was supposed to get my cycle over the last couple of days and I just feel I have a bit of a lingering fatigue. Not completely trashed, but I can just feel I'm not 100%. And my recovery metrics lately have also been still decent, but not as elite as they usually are. So I decided to move today's session, which would have been my hardest session, it would have been my speed work. So we're going to be hitting the final couple of runs over this week and then go into the taper, recover properly.